There's a very specific kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from running or working or even dealing with people. It comes from your own mind, a kind of tiredness that shows up even after a full night of sleep, a heaviness you feel the moment you wake up, as if your brain has already been active for hours. Overthinkers know this feeling well. It's the experience of living with a mind that refuses to slow down, a mind that analyzes everything, studies every detail, replays old conversations, imagines future disasters, and constantly wonders if you did something wrong, or forgot something important, or failed to meet some invisible expectation. It's like having a browser open with 50 tabs running, and none of them will close. For many people, overthinking feels like protection. Like if you can predict every possible outcome, you won't get hurt. If you can analyze every detail, you can avoid disappointment. If you can mentally prepare for every scenario, you can finally relax. But that moment of relaxation never comes, because the mind simply replaces one worry with another. Overthinkers are often people who learned early in life that they had to be alert, hyper-aware, careful. Maybe you grew up in an unpredictable environment. Maybe you had to manage other people's emotions. Maybe you had to stay ahead of problems to feel safe. So your mind adapted. It became skilled at scanning for danger, skilled at predicting reactions, skilled at holding too much information at once. But that survival skill can become a trap, because now, even when you're safe, your mind still acts like you're not. Even when nothing is wrong, your thoughts search for something that could go wrong. Even when the situation is simple, you mentally dissect it from 1,000 angles. And because no one else can hear this mental noise, you might feel isolated. People see you functioning, working, talking, smiling, living. But inside, your mind is constantly busy, and that constant activity drains your emotional battery faster than anyone realizes. It can feel like you're living life on hard mode. You overthink your decisions, your relationships, your mistakes, your future, your past, even things you said years ago that no one else remembers. Overthinking isn't just thinking too much, it's being unable to stop thinking, even when you desperately want to, even when your body is tired, even when your heart is tired, even when you know the thoughts aren't helping you. This chapter is the doorway into understanding that exhaustion. Not to blame yourself, not to force your mind to be quiet, but to finally understand why your mind works the way it does, and why it's so hard to find peace when your thoughts never stop moving. In the next chapter, we'll explore where this mental overactivity comes from and why so many people become trapped inside their own thoughts. There's something uniquely exhausting about being an overthinker. It's not just that your mind works fast, it's that it doesn't know when to stop. In this chapter, let's slow things down. Let's explore the loops, the invisible mental patterns that keep your thoughts circling the same fears, the same doubts, the same imagined scenarios over and over again. And most importantly, why these loops feel impossible to escape. The loop of what if. If you're an overthinker, this loop will feel painfully familiar. It starts with something small, a text message, a comment someone made, a decision you haven't taken yet, and then your mind whispers, yeah, but what if? What if you upset someone? What if you choose wrong? What if something goes bad? What if there's something you didn't consider? The what if loop doesn't search for solutions. It searches for danger. It looks for every possible threat, every possible failure, every possible embarrassment, even ones that don't exist yet. Your mind thinks it's protecting you, but in reality, it's keeping you stuck. The loop of replay. This is the loop that replays conversations and moments from the past. You relive a mistake you made 5 years ago. You repeat something you said yesterday that wasn't even a big deal. You analyze a situation that's already over, as if thinking about it just a little more might magically change it. Replay loops create the illusion of control, but they don't fix anything. They only keep you emotionally tied to moments you should have been able to move on from. It's like being trapped inside your own mental cinema, watching the same scene again and again, the loop of perfect decision. This loop is brutal. It makes even simple choices feel life-changing. ordering food, picking a movie, responding to a message, deciding whether to say yes or no. You gather information, you weigh your options, you think through every angle, and still, your mind whispers, "What if I choose wrong?" This loop is not about the decision itself. It's about the fear of regret, the fear of being responsible for your own discomfort later. So you overthink, hoping that enough thinking will eliminate the risk. But it never does. The loop of self-blame. This is the loop that drains your energy the fastest. Something goes wrong, even something small, and your mind immediately asks, "What did I do wrong? What should I have done differently? Was this my fault?" Overthinkers often believe everything is connected to them. Every reaction, every silence, every shift in someone else's mood. It becomes a habit of carrying emotional weight that was never yours to carry. Why these loops feel endless? Here's the truth. Overthinking doesn't come from a chaotic mind. It comes from a protective mind. Your brain believes that analyzing everything will keep you safe. Safe from judgment, safe from mistakes, safe from pain. But in reality, the loops become the very thing that hurts you. There comes a point where overthinking stops feeling like being thoughtful and starts feeling like being trapped inside your own head. And if you're an overthinker, you know exactly what that moment feels like. It's the moment when your mind is still spinning, even though your body is exhausted. It's the moment when you're lying in bed, trying to rest, but your brain drags you into another replay session, another analysis, another prediction, another what if, what then, what did they mean, what should I do? And you can feel it. You can feel how heavy it is. This chapter is about that heaviness, the emotional toll, the part no one sees. Because from the outside, overthinkers look functional. You show up, you work, you talk, you smile when needed, you handle life. But inside, your mind is running marathons. And the strange thing about overthinking is this: it doesn't feel like a choice, it feels like a responsibility. Like if you don't think through every possibility, if you don't prepare for every outcome, if you don't anticipate everything that could go wrong, then somehow everything will fall apart. This is the hidden emotional cost of overthinking. You start believing that you must be the one to constantly manage the chaos of the world. And the world is too big for that. It's too big for one mind, too unpredictable, too uncontrollable. But your brain keeps trying anyway. So what does this create? It creates mental fatigue that doesn't go away with sleep. It creates stress that burns quietly inside your chest. It creates a constant pressure to figure things out, even when nothing is wrong, even when nothing needs to be fixed. And most painful of all, it creates a silent belief that you are never doing enough, never thinking enough, never planning enough. So you push yourself, and then you collapse, and then you push yourself again. Overthinking becomes a cycle of self-punishment that you never consciously signed up for. And here's something important, something overthinkers rarely admit. Overthinking isn't just exhausting, it's lonely. Because while everyone else seems to just move on, your mind holds on to things, conversations, tiny comments, glances, tone shifts, and turns them into stories, possibilities, threats. You analyze things no one else even noticed. It makes you feel different. It makes you feel distant. It makes you feel quietly misunderstood. Not because people don't care, but because they simply don't realize how heavy it is to be someone whose brain refuses to rest. In this chapter, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not dramatic. You are not weak. You're not overreacting. You're tired. You're carrying too much inside your mind, too much responsibility, too much self-pressure, too much fear of the unknown. And none of this is your fault. Your mind learned to overthink as a way of protecting you. But now, that protection is draining you. And that's what will unravel in the next chapters. Why your mind does this and how to gently loosen its grip without fighting it. There's a moment in every overthinker's life, a moment when they realize they can't remember the last time their mind felt quiet. Not peaceful, not empty, just quiet. And that's what this chapter is about. the emotional toll of living inside a mind that never turns off. Because overthinking isn't just a mental habit, it's a full-body experience. It affects your emotions, your energy, your health, even the way you show up in relationships. Let's slow down and unpack what constant mental noise does to a human being. First, anxiety. Overthinking isn't random. It often grows from fear, fear of messing up, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, fear of what you can't control. So your mind tries to get ahead of everything, predict every outcome, analyze every detail, protect you from every possible failure or disappointment. But the irony is painful. The more you try to think your way into safety, the more unsafe you feel. Your thoughts become loops. What ifs? Should haves? Why did I do that? Your brain starts playing the same scene over and over again, trying to solve something that's already happened. This is where anxiety shows up, not as sudden panic, but as a quiet, constant background tension, a tight chest, a clenched jaw, a feeling of being on edge, a sense that something is wrong even when nothing actually is. Second, mental fatigue. If overthinking were a physical activity, you'd be running marathons every single day. Your mind burns energy, a lot of it. And when you live in a state of nonstop mental processing, guessing other people's reactions, analyzing their tone, replaying conversations, planning how to be perfect, you end up exhausted, not tired, drained, the kind of fatigue sleep doesn't fix. Because it's not your body that's tired, it's your mind. Third, emotional numbness. This part surprises many people. Overthinkers often feel too much, until one day they don't feel anything at all. Because your brain is so overwhelmed that it shuts down emotional input to conserve energy. You stop feeling joy deeply. You stop feeling excitement fully. Even your sadness becomes muted. It's not depression, it's overload. Your emotional system is exhausted from processing every moment, every thought, every possibility. So it goes into survival mode. You become functional. You can work. You can talk. You can show up. But inside, you feel flat, detached, almost robotic. Fourth, hypervigilance. Overthinkers don't just think too much. They sense too much. You notice tone shifts, micro-expressions, changes in mood, silences that feel heavy, words that feel loaded. It keeps you alert, but never relaxed. Your nervous system stays on high alert as if danger is always one breath away. Even in peaceful moments, your mind whispers, something could go wrong. And that constant vigilance is emotionally exhausting. Finally, the inability to fully rest. This might be the hardest part. Even when you're doing nothing, your mind is doing everything. You can lie in bed, eyes closed, lights off. But inside, you're replaying, rewriting, analyzing, predicting. Your body is still, but your mind is sprinting. Rest becomes impossible when your brain doesn't know how to put things down. This is the emotional cost of overthinking. This is what it feels like to live in a mind that never stops. There's a moment, usually after years of exhaustion, where an overthinker realizes something quietly transformative. My mind isn't the enemy, it's just tired. Chapter 5 is about that turning point, the path out, not by force, not by shutting down your thoughts, but by learning how to guide them, gently, patiently, and with compassion. Because the truth is this, an overactive mind doesn't calm down by trying harder. It calms down by feeling safer. So let's begin. First, let's talk about mental space. If your mind is constantly running simulations, it's because it doesn't trust the world to be predictable. So it tries to anticipate everything. This means your brain lives in the future. It rehearses conversations, anticipates disasters, prepares for disappointment, and builds escape plans, even when nothing is wrong yet. To calm a mind like this, you don't shut it off. You bring it back home, back to the present moment, where very little is actually threatening. A simple practice. Take one slow breath, not to fix anything, not to stop the thoughts, just to signal safety. Tell your mind, we're here, we're safe right now. This alone begins to soften the storm. Second, learn to interrupt the spiral gently. Overthinkers usually try to stop spiraling by arguing with their thoughts, but that only creates more thoughts. The way out is interruption, not confrontation. For example, when you catch yourself spiraling and say, this is a thought, not a fact, then ask yourself, is this happening right now or am I predicting it? This creates a small moment of separation, enough to break the loop. This is not about positive thinking. It's about accurate thinking, a return to reality instead of a rehearsal of fear. Third, your mind needs closure. Overthinkers often replay situations because no one ever taught them emotional completion. You were taught to move on, but never taught how. Here's a simple way. Describe the feeling out loud. I'm worrying because I'm scared of being wrong. I'm replaying this because I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm imagining the worst because I want to stay in control. Naming the truth ends the loop, because unspoken emotions repeat until they are heard. Fourth, your nervous system needs a pattern interrupt, not a distraction, not avoidance, but a gentle shift. Stand up, move your shoulders, touch a cold surface. Look around the room and name 5 objects. These simple sensory actions send a clear message. We are here, not in the scenario my mind is creating. This breaks the neurological pathway of overthinking. Finally, remember this. An overthinking mind is a protective mind, a creative mind, a deeply caring mind. The goal is not to silence it. The goal is to teach it peace, to help it understand that not every moment requires a strategy or a prediction or a defense. You don't need to stop thinking. You just need enough quiet to live.